Chair recognizes the senator from Johnson, Senator Wahls.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I remember the day of the Varnum decision very clearly. It was a Friday afternoon. It was April 3rd, 2009. It's a beautiful day. Growing up with lesbian parents in this state, my mom, Terry, fifth-generation Iowa farm girl from Clayton County, she always knew that she was a little different growing up. She didn't come out until the late 70s. It was a different time. She never thought that she'd be able to get married. I was born in 1991. Being a single lesbian mom in the Midwest is not easy. When she met the woman who would become my mom, Jackie, in 1995, shared a lot of the same values, a lot of the same life goals. Quite frankly, the lesbian dating pool was not very big, so they were very glad to have found each other. And they still didn't think that they were going to be able to spend the rest of their lives together in a relationship that was recognized by the state. And so when, in the 8th grade, I had my very first homework assignment, it was late August, we had to go watch the Republican National Convention of 2004. And I got to listen to Republican politicians talk in the one breath about the danger of the war in Iraq, the global war on terror, and in the next breath, warn about the dangers of families like mine, about the threat facing American children from the scourge of gay people in this state and in this country. And so when Senator Garrett talks about judicial activism, he's talking about the Varnum decision. And I remember it like it was yesterday. That decision changed my parents' lives. It meant that they were able to be in a legal relationship recognized by the state of Iowa. And not just the hundreds of federal and state benefits that come with marriage, but recognition. And believe it or not, even in the People's Republic of Iowa City, being gay is not always easy. I remember very clearly in 2006, my mother Terry has multiple sclerosis, as some of you know. And I remember an episode that she had in the emergency room where my mom Jackie, despite having a medical directive, despite having a medical power of attorney, was not recognized as my mother's legal partner in the same way that she would have been if she was male instead of female. When my parents were able to get married following the Varnum decision, their relationship did fundamentally change because the state recognized as equal their relationship, just like the relationship of any heterosexual couple in this chamber. And so I appreciate, Senator Dawson, that you said this bill is not about the Varnum decision. You listed off a long run of technical fixes, and I certainly can understand the frustration of people who might feel shut out because they don't belong to the 0.03%. I understand that completely. But when Senator Garrett discusses judicial activism, and he says that was a major topic in his election, a major topic in the national election, that's not what he's talking about at all. Right? Senator Dawson asked, what checks do we have? Well, for one, I remember too, in November 2010, the people of Iowa voted down 3 judges in a retention election. Those judges who voted for the Varnum decision, who knew it was possible that they might lose their jobs, but they did the right thing anyway. And they were checked by a deliberate campaign aimed squarely at them. I think it would be hard to deny that that check worked. Senator Dawson indicated that he wants to make our system more like the federal system with a presidential nomination and Senate confirmation. Does anybody in this chamber think it's a good idea to make our courts more like the federal courts? Senator Garrett? And then Senator Dawson said, if you asked a majority of Iowans if they think that this system is fair, what would they say? Incidentally, Ann Selzer, in fact, asked a lot of Iowans last month on exactly that question. The Iowa poll, the gold standard for Iowa political polling, 59% of Iowans approve of the Supreme Court, including 60% of Republicans, and majorities of both evangelicals and Catholics approve of the job the Supreme Court of Iowa is doing. And Iowans do, in fact, want to keep the current system in place, and it's not even close. Majorities of Democrats, Republicans, and independents favor keeping the system in place, and only 33% of Iowans favor changing how we nominate judges in the state of Iowa. So you don't have to take my word for it. And I know that I'm the senator from Johnson, but I also have the distinguished pleasure of representing Cedar County and Muscatine County as well. And I've held over 20 listening posts, attended forums and town halls, and in fact, most of them have been in Cedar and Muscatine counties. And when I bring this topic up, it's a wonky conversation, right? Not a whole lot of people have a clear understanding. I didn't even have a clear understanding when I got here of how this judicial nominating commission structure worked. But at these listening posts and in these conversations that I have outside of this chamber with people, what I hear is they want these changes to be bipartisan. If we're going to muck around with the courts, we should at least agree on it. Democrats offered, I think in good faith, 2 amendments that were not partisan, that were not ideological. They were voted down on a party line vote anyway. Voters want this process to be deliberate. I've learned a lot about the pace of how fast this chamber moves, but it seems like we're moving pretty darn fast to try and get this bill through instead of making a case to the public about the need for technical fixes and then going down that path. Finally, I try to explain the one line in the law and the constitutional amendment that says that the law will be in place until 1974, notwithstanding changes to the law. But when you tell people that Iowa voters put this into the Constitution, I submit that they will tell you that they want to vote on a change. They want their voices heard, and they're not being heard tonight in this chamber. Thank you, Mr. President.